Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you game 4 in a best of 7 series between Mouz and EG. We have Mouz Naama spawning as the green Terran player over here at what I'll call the 2 o'clock position of Delta Quadrant. Meanwhile, we have EG Incontrol spawning as the red Protoss player. Didn't get the capitalization right on his spelling of the name over here, but my apologies. Don't hold it against me. So Incontrol spawning here as the red Protoss player, and just because of the positionings on this map, I feel that Naama has quite an advantage. These backdoor or this low ground destructible rock expansion is going to be very, very difficult to defend for Incontrol. I mean, he's going to be forced to try to take this expansion, and even this expansion falls under the cover fire of siege tanks sitting on this ledge. Also, it is going to be a relatively short flying distance for any units, any starport banshees that are placed in this location here. And also, a lot of players have recently just been telling me that Delta Quadrant favors Terran play in general. The fact that you can hide banshees off in the corner, make it so that they can sit there and wait for another day and then come back, do more harassment, forcing a lot of stalkers to at least stay in the base and split out that army, is always a problem and a concern for Protoss players. One probe now going to be wandering around. He is wandering in the counterclockwise direction, which is pretty standard for Protoss, as sometimes Protoss players like to put in a pylon here and then warp units across this narrow gap and then come up this back door. A lot of Terran players, have been responding by putting supply depots here, and here as well, in order to make sure no units are going to be able to come up that side. Now, taking a look at the build so far, pretty standard builds. Barracks, refinery, 13 refinery, barracks should get done in a matter of seconds, and then followed by an orbital command. Or no, now double training up SCVs. That is a little bit of a surprise coming in, as he may be going for a second barracks early. No, he's now going into 17 and now upgrading that orbital command just a little bit late. There it is, and now training up some Marines as well. We do see a gas block coming in from Incontrol. Assimilators have 900 hit points, are very, very difficult for one Marine to shoot down, as 900 hit points is a lot of damage to try to deal, especially when you get past those shields, and the assimilator has a natural 1 armor anyways. One SCV able to escape with 10 hit points, may be able to go back home. No, not going to go back home, and now building a bunker inside the base. This is very interesting play. It is going to open up into very early aggression, but we now see Incontrol already getting a Zealot. Most or many Protoss players do forego this early Zealot, and especially with that assimilator block over here. So this is 75 minerals, and now training up another 100 minerals onto this gateway. That does show why his second assimilator is a little bit late. But as soon as that Zealot pops out, the bunker will be completed, and now this is going to be very interesting. That bunker may just take some damage. Yeah, the bunker will just take some damage, and Naama most likely will just decide to salvage it. It is more like a scouting bunker at this time. Yeah, no real loss there, as that salvaged bunker will return the full 100 minerals, and a Marauder finally coming in over here will be able to take down this assimilator. We do see a tech to a factory though, a tech to a factory now. But that because of this one assimilator, it means that it will be a little bit of time before any starport banshees will be able to be introduced. Not being able to mine from that gas early on did really hurt the gas economy of Naama. We now see a bunker currently being placed over here. It is a little bit further away from the ramp, and some players may be wondering, why do Terran players even bother placing a bunker that is that far away? One of the reasons why is you want to make sure that if there are observers nearby, that not too many stalkers are able to get damage onto that bunker. Secondly, what you also need to make sure of is the sentry force field play is very, very strong. And if you try to fight too close to a ramp, you may quickly find your army split in half. So that is one of the reasons why bunkers are so far back, enabling them to not take damage from stalkers, and also by not fighting so close to the ramp that sentries are able to split apart your army. Back here, we now currently see 3 stalkers and 1 zealot on that front door, and we finally see a robotics facility has been completed. Warp gate research has been completed as well, as we are now getting an observer chrono boosted out of the robotics facility in order to get some scouting, decent timing on that scouting. And we are now getting a tech lab on the starport, so we may be going for banshees, or he may just be trying to go for a raven. You can see that he is a little bit gas locked right now, unable to get cloaked banshees by any stretch of the imagination. And just because he is, 50 gas behind, we now see a siege tank currently being trained, and it looks like he may decide to train up a Hellion and now go for a Raven. So is that what he's going for? Is he going for an early Raven? Yes, an early Raven in order to deal with any scouting observers. There in comes this observer. The observer does come out relatively quickly, only 40. I think it only takes 40 seconds. Yeah, 40 seconds to train up a detector. The Terran detector is the most versatile. However, it does take the longest to build out of all the detectors, as overlords only need to be upgraded to an overseer. So that's pretty much almost instant deployment to anywhere where a Zerg player has an overlord, and any good Zerg player has overlords all across the map. In this game right now, we now see a command center being built off over here. Tosh will be trying to take, Mana will be trying to take this, or Naama. Just casted a game between Mana. So Naama will be trying to take as either this expansion here or trying to establish this. We now see one observer still wandering around, and very, very interesting play by Incontrol by trying to take down these destructible rocks and trying to take his gold mineral location. And the gold mineral location will not be scouted out nearly as quickly, and Naama may just be thinking that Incontrol is trying to go into one base Protoss play, which is very, very unconventional. Two base play is the more standard build, especially as we are now about to breach the 9-minute mark in this game. One probe still activating this Zelnaga Watchtower. A Marine will quickly come in and shoot down this probe. Yeah, probe already deciding to try to back off there. Stalkers are now trying to come in as well. The Marine doesn't see the Stalkers coming, and that's going to be a very, very bad day for that Marine. The Marine quickly getting taken down there. We now see in comes one Viking. So I'm not exactly sure what the Viking is looking to do. I don't see any Void Rays. I don't see any Colossi. So that early Viking's not going to really be able to do much except land and take down a pylon. I guess that is still worth something, as that Viking shooting at that one pylon here will make it worth at least 100 minerals. Stalkers now trying to make their way over. I do believe that there is going to be an observer coming in just a moment. The Viking does have decent range. A range of, I believe, 6. Yeah, so a range of 6. Stalkers also have a range of 6 as well. I believe this one pylon will get taken down in just a second. And now Stalkers are able to gain sight, and that Viking able to pull away and live to fight another day. That pylon down to 54 hit points. It doesn't look like it will get shot down anytime soon, as those shields are now starting to recharge. Perfect timing from Incontrol on these probes. Actually, I don't know if it was perfect, as some of those probes already had little gold minerals in their mouths. If probes have mouths, or a mouth, excuse me. We now also see a forge coming online, double forge being chrono boosted in order to get a lot of weapons upgrades. So we are getting the level 1 weapons and the level 1 armor upgrades in addition to a Twilight Council. So this may open into Zealot Charge Stalker Blink upgrades, which is going to be very, very strong for Incontrol. And I don't see any Colossi though, but the Colossi are only there to really counter mass infantry. Taking a look at the base, there's 3 barracks in play, so it's not going to be too much of a mass infantry, but one of them does have a reactor, so I may have spoken too soon. I don't see an engineering bay though, so it does mean that he is not trying to go into mass Marines and Marauders, just trying to more of an auxiliary force to these Vikings, Banshees, and Siege Tanks. Concussive Shell slowing down one of those Stalkers, and now down goes an Observer as well. The Banshee, however, does not have Cloak. Force Field now coming in. Force Field trapping some of those Marines. However, there are now a couple Siege Tanks in the back able to get a large amount of splash damage. And now if more Force Fields were be able to be laid down, pushing those Marines ever precariously closer towards that army, that would be very difficult. There are a lot of Marines now sitting over here, and now the Marines the Marines do know about the expansion down here, and there is currently one photon cannon there, as the Siege Tanks of Naama are now starting to play hopscotch. Naama does have a much larger army, almost no longer double in size, as both sides are now just warping in more units. We do see one Immortal, but the Immortal are quickly going to fall to those Marines. Stalkers now trying to get back into this game as well, trying to get some damage. They do have a little bit more range, but without Zealot legs, it's going to be very difficult to even get within combat range, especially as those Siege Tanks are starting to stair-step their way forward. Vikings doing a lot of damage, or Viking providing a lot of sight, nothing for them to really kill so far. Point defense drone in the air, intercepting many of the attacks as the Stalkers are trying to finish this off here, and now Tosh able to just simply clean up many of these Stalkers. And while the army of Incontrol just simply getting outplayed right now They are upgraded 1-1, and now there are also a lot of probes sitting idle over here. Incontrol not staying on top of his macro, and now with these siege tanks sitting outside the front door, bunkers being placed down, I believe Naama is just going to simply take this game. The Banshee may get taken down. Yeah, down it goes. But now that the pylons have been taken out, it does not look like these buildings are going to be powered anymore. One Immortal being very, very brave, trying to focus down and take down some of those siege tanks, was able to clear out, I believe, one, if not two of them. But now that there's a sensor tower and a bunker in play, I don't believe that much can really happen for Incontrol. He can try to warp in another Nexus here, try to get back in that game, but I believe Naama will be able to just simply siege in very, very quickly. You can already see the siege tanks with a very decent spread, and Immortals trying to come in, but one Immortal, two Immortals against this many siege tanks with Marine support. And yeah, Naama just simply able to take this game and force Incontrol to say GG. So really, really well played by Incontrol during the early portion. I thought he started to macro up very well, but Naama just timed his push really perfectly, spaced out his siege tanks really well, and then transitioned, had enough Marines in order to deplete the hardened shields of those Immortals without going into so many Marines that Colossi would have just eaten through them. Perhaps one or two Colossi, perhaps maybe some Psystorm would have helped as well, as there were no Ghosts. The Marines didn't even have the combat shield, so yeah, Psystorm probably would have been a very, very strong choice for Incontrol to tech into. He already had the Twilight Council, so not quite sure why he didn't do that. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this game between Incontrol and Naama here in the Delta Quadrant.